as long as I got my suit.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Deep Dive Zone, a Sonic the Hedgehog rewatch podcast for fans of all shapes and sizes. I'm your host Devin, and this is part 3 of our Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog coverage. As with the first 2 episodes, you're going to hear some inconsistencies in sound quality due to recording across multiple sessions, and in our personnel, as Bruce was only here for some of the episodes, so if things seem a little off, that's why. With all that said, welcome, and I hope you enjoy the show. Episode 23, Grounder the Genius. Grounder accidentally puts a genius chip in his head, and it makes him so smart that he easily captures Sonic and even takes over Robotnik's operations.
I am a little disappointed that you didn't include this in the list of episodes to share with Bruce. I love this episode.
I actually really like this episode. This might be the best episode. Maybe I should have put it in there.
Oh well. Yeah, so as the synopsis says, Grounder becomes a genius to the point that he's, like, aware of
the tropes
sort
of the
way,
show.
Yeah, exactly. Like almost to the point where he realizes the way the world works in a meta sort of a way. Not quite, but when Sonic tries to use a disguise, he's like, "Oh yes, dear boy, what a great trophy." Of course, I don't approve of the sticks of dynamite, and like just completely brushes it aside.
You could give him like an H.P. Lovecraft moment where he realizes the futility of human existence and like goes insane.
Oh my gosh.
Here's the thing. Sonic and Tails start this episode arbitrarily separated, and I don't know why other than to have that scene with, like, the fake Tails doll that they use as bait for Sonic. Which Tails doll confirmed in AOCH, but...
I mean, yeah, that's the reason, I guess. There's a lot in this one. I find it interesting that the episode... Okay, most of the time, I don't understand why Robotnik wouldn't just try to do what Sonic stopped them from doing again, but learning from their mistakes. But I'm impressed that the computer program that he used to make like a genius chip was apparently like he just got it's a little unbelievable that he just got ridiculously lucky and like calculated something at random that the stars aligned perfectly, and so it's like a once in a million lucky break. But at the same time, that does, I guess, explain why he can't just make another, which is more than most episodes do.
Yeah. This episode also made me realize that the actual voice cast on this show is genuinely talented. It's just the voice direction that they have them do for a lot of the voices is intentionally annoying. Because Gary Chalk, who voices Grounder, when he voices Smart Grounder, he's like actually a really good actor, and it's sad that he's stuck doing the dum-dum voice all the time.
Yeah, I do like their voice in this one, as I alluded to with the way I mimicked them earlier. They do have quite a range to them. This is when I'm like, okay, yeah, now I 100% believe that Scratch and Grounder would betray Robotnik on an instant. I mean, obviously, Grounder does. You could be like, well, maybe it's a malfunction from the chip. But Scratch also betrays them, as they're much more interested in saving themselves than helping Robotnik when they throw Robotnik in the dungeon.
Maybe it's just an internal understanding that his fight is futile. I don't know.
I suppose so. For some reason, they just got the color wrong. Where normally the stupid chip and the genius chip are the same color, but for some reason, the last scene they're different colors. And I'm like, were they colored wrong in the other scenes, or were they colored wrong in this scene? But it's like Robotnik should have noticed that they made the swap then. Anyway, It's weird. I've noticed I don't have a whole lot of like little like notes of this, that, and the other thing, but just take my word for it that all of Grounder's sort of mannerisms in this episode are just vastly entertaining in his other sort of genius persona.
Yeah. Episode 24, Tails in Charge. When Scratch and Grounder zap Sonic with Robotnik's new freeze ray, Tails uses intellect and disguises to foil the two henchmen and ensure Sonic's safety. So, Tails is basically just being not as good at some of the things that Sonic already does, like the disguise thing. I think that some of the logic or the like traps that he sets are pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know that this was on purpose. I feel like they were written separately, and this is just a coincidence. But coming right off the heels of Grounder the Genius, Robotnik's supreme stopper zapper behaves exactly like Grounder's petrifying ray.
We just had a petrification device last episode.
But Robotnik talks it up as if it's some sort of genius invention. So my headcanon is he just stole it And then he's bragging about it because who's going to stand up to him, I guess.
That would be amazing. And it would be so good if that was a real joke they did. Like, you can just clearly see that he just, like, slapped a label over it. It would be great.
It's still a funny bit of irony, even if unintentional.
Yeah. Tails at one point calls the bad guys dumb clucks, which probably isn't meant to be funny the way that I'm finding it funny. But, you know, maybe they snuck something past there. I don't know. As much as I say that it's like, oh, Tails is just trying to imitate Sonic's disguise shtick, Tails trying to imitate the disguise thing is kind of cute, just because Tails is allowed to be more cute than Sonic.
No, yeah. I like that moment. I honestly don't understand why they even saw through it, because it's just as obvious as any
I know, it's
Sonic's
the same.
disguises.
It's just because it's Tails doing it, I guess.
It's just because it is.
Maybe there are just thousands of blue hedgehogs on Mobius that we don't see, and that's why they're like, oh yeah, that guy couldn't be Sonic.
I guess, although I don't see any of them. But it is at least outright stated there's only one two-tailed fox, so there you go, I suppose. You probably didn't get this vibe, but I actually got a little anxious for Tails' safety in this one, maybe because they're literally just like a young child in this, and Scratch and Grounder actually sort of come off as intimidating when Sonic isn't making fun of them, and they're actually able to pull off a lot of their tricks a lot better.
This is what happens when you don't make your hero overpowered and invincible.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess that explains it.
And frankly, a decent performance. I don't know what the name of the kid voicing Tails in this show is, but, you know, this was during the period of time where they actually still had young boys voice Tails instead of just getting women to do little boy voices. And this show in general has better results for it than, like, the Sonic Adventure games did. And especially better than Sonic Heroes.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the better Tails performances, I would have to agree.
He's a good kid is all, and that's really all you need, really.
Yeah, sums it up.
Episode 25, Sno Problem. Robotnik introduces the Ultra Freeze-O-Matic, announcing his plan to freeze every citizen on Mobius so that he can install servitude chips into the frozen citizens and make them universally obedient. Actually, it says unquestionably, but I read it wrong. Sonic and Tails must foil the scheme. So this is the third freeze ray of some sort in a row?
That's true. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. If you look really closely, this show actually has a lot of really interesting bits of continuity. I feel like the writers knew what they were doing sometimes. I was impressed that Robotnik thinks to install servitude chips in Scratch and Grounder, thus confirming that they're rebellious and rogue elements and gonna betray him if they have the chance. Which is interesting, because I always assumed that was just, you know, some sort of quirk of the show not being super serious. But that basically confirms it's a thing in universe. You know, and it's funny, of course, because, you know, that ends up with them ending up eventually on Sonic's side and helping him. And it is very funny because they end up being just as much a liability to Sonic as they are to Robotnik. That is funny, yes. They are often more hurtful than helpful. Actually, I can say they're always more hurtful than helpful. Another bit of just the show being kind of silly in a way that makes me laugh for some reason is when Robotnik's like, oh, where did I put that? And he's like, the handy-dandy servitude chip remote regenerator that I just have, even though I only made the servitude chips this episode. Like, that's an oddly specific doodad to have. I don't know. That got me for some reason. Another thing that got me is, okay, this was quite a bit better, was when Sonic and Tails are approaching the Freeze-O-Matic, and Robotnik keeps coming up with different ways to try and stop them. And, like, as they get closer and closer, he starts to, like, lose his composure, and it's pretty entertaining to watch.
Yeah, just watch him nervously be like, no, I just got it,
That's basically it, yeah, it's pretty good.
Episode 26, Submerged Sonic. Robotnik is after the Power Pearls from the city of Submerbia in the Labyrinth Zone. Sonic and Tails are enlisted by a local citizen to stop Robotnik. So the first thing is that this is not Labyrinth Zone. Labyrinth Zone is submerged ruins. This is just an underwater city.
Yeah, it's just like Marble or Casino to an extent.
This was also before Sonic was commonly hydrophobic in media, which makes it kind of boring because he can just swim.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but that's true. I like that because they're in an underwater setting and Robotnik's in a submarine, he gets, like, a military uniform, and he keeps it throughout the whole episode, too. I just think it looks hilarious.
It kind of
bonus
reminds me
Scratch
of
and Grinder
the old
gets when he
Mario
has.
cartoons, like how in the Super Show, Bowser would not only be wearing something different, but he would be called something different.
Oh yeah, that's true. That show is not all that different in what regard it did to Mario as it does to Sonic.
Yeah, I don't want to watch that one.
Well, this is a Sonic the Hedgehog podcast. We can't talk about Jumpman Mario. He's nothing to us. But another thing is, it's interesting. The writers seem to be pretty aware of the fact that Sonic is just like ridiculously effective. Like he's able to point at the fact that everyone's an idiot except him for the most part, and they know it because Robotnik actually gets really far with his ploy in this episode. You know, before Sonic shows up, it seems like a pretty serious plot actually. As he kidnaps like the princess or whatever and forces the hand of the king, who's like really furious but then like becomes dejected and defeated. I kind of was getting into it, and then Sonic shows up and it turns back into Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Well, I wouldn't say it was completely out of there because the fish guy's surfer speak makes me want to kill somebody. It's really annoying to me.
Okay, you're right. You're right. That's true. I was looking past that, but you're right. That was there. Oh, this is another thing I haven't brought up yet, but this is one of the instances where I love that Robotnik takes insults as compliments when the king says, "What is it you want, you revolting rot of rotten seaweed?" And Robotnik's like, "Please spare me the flattery, King Silene." It's great.
They do that in the comics too, where they're like, "Oh, your horribleness, you're going to doom us all." Oh, I thank you. It's very good.
Yeah.
Episode 27, Boogey Mania. Robotnik reprograms a machine created by Professor von Schlemmer capable of turning dreams into reality and unleashes a nightmare monster upon Mobius.
You only included this episode because of the meme, didn't you?
Of course I did! What kind of coward do you take me for?
Wait, which meme?
What?
Snooping as usual, I see.
So I forgot to point out that this show kind of gave me a bit of a headache, and it kind of put me into almost like a daze watching it, so if I didn't catch any memes...
You can just say you were drunk. YouTube doesn't care.
No, surprisingly, I didn't try to use alcohol to watch this show.
Well, you should have. You would have taken better notes.
Maybe. Honestly.
So, Sonic totally steals all that kitchen equipment he used to make food at the start, right?
I did not make a note of that, but probably.
Probably. I mean, where else? Where else?
I don't know, because that can't be his house.
Yeah.
You know, it isn't. Okay, so this is an interesting point. This isn't the only time that Sonic would seem to cause misery for someone else. I mean, I already kind of mentioned the fact that they don't stop Robotnik when they can, and then there's something else that I'm going to mention later, too. Yeah, that's not inconsistent.
One of my notes on here, I think you're saying, oh, Devin, you only included this because it has the Pingas meme in it, and that is true, but it results in me taking way weirder notes, like, this show is better than the Mario show because it cuts out the scene of the villain getting his feet licked. Why does Robotnik suggest that as a thing to happen? And why was that a thing they included in the first episode of the Mario cartoon?
So, I wasn't going to mention it, but I guess this is a logical introduction to the point. Robotnik's design is... Okay, so, I mean, if you just look at it at a glance, it's goofy and funny, the weird pointed head, the big old mustache.
Teeth.
But certain other parts are a little strange.
Yeah.
I actually really like... I've looked at the character sheets for Robotnik before, and, some of the stuff that they have written on him is very good, because my favorite note on there is that it says, drawn expressively, not well.
That's a good description of the art style in general.
But, the fact that they constantly want to make him look gross by emphasizing his, feet or ass is, I get it, you guys are trying to be funny, but I would also like for you to stop.
I guess that's why they gave him so much cake, because, he's kind of caked up.
Please stop saying the words that you were saying.
He's just speaking the truth.
Yeah, come on, you can't deny the truth.
Animation sexiest fat man.
Oh.
That's the phrase I wasn't going to say. I've heard that before, though.
But it's I hate that we got on this tangent because the rest of the episode is Fighting nightmare monsters is a cool idea, and they made it boring.
Yeah, I know. It's
I mean, almost all the gimmicks in this show are reduced to just that wasn't actually as entertaining as it could have been because it's Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. So sorry. But yeah, Von Schlemmer shows up again. This is still early enough that I'm really surprised by that. I'm like, whoa, they're actually recurring characters. So that's interesting. Von Schlemmer. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but
I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it. He's weird. I don't quite get. I mean, he's just cartoon mad scientist, but
he's a cartoon German.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Germans again.
Oh, okay. So here's a fun thing. Always the funnest things with Robotnik. When Robotnik takes the Dream-a-majig, he asks Von Schlemmer to adjust it, which I interpret as indicating that Robotnik doesn't have dreams, they only have nightmares.
Maybe that's part of the reason he's so evil.
I would explain a lot. I would turn any sane person evil.
They definitely seem unhinged. Another bit that shows that he might be a little haunted is when Robotnik uses their disguise as a doctor, and he's like, "Oh, you're under too much pressure. You've got to sleep." Robotnik's reply is, "You're telling me." Like, he legitimately is getting tired out from everything. Who wouldn't be tired out by the whole show's environment, honestly?
Yeah.
Episode 28 must have been a beautiful baby. Robotnik's attempt to turn Sonic into an old man with his newest device backfires, turning him and Tails, and later himself, into babies. Now stuck in a daycare, the infantile Sonic and Tails must try to keep Robotnik under control while Scratch and Grounder attempt to get him back. Baby episode.
Yeah, annoying baby episode, might I say.
Baby episodes are just the worst in every cartoon. I hate them.
I guess that goes without saying, really.
I guess I don't like babies that much in real life. That might be part of it. But at least in real life, a baby is not voluntarily being a baby. You can only force yourself to write babies into a cartoon.
Yeah. Speaking of babies, I am glad at least we didn't talk about this here, but baby version of Robotnik does show up in Mama Robotnik's birthday, but it looks so weird and wrong. I'm glad they redesigned it for this one.
Well, I find there is one thing, which is that I think Baby Tails in this episode looks the same as in the Tails New Home episode when they flash back to Sonic meeting or finding him for the first time.
Right, that is true. I noticed that as well.
Which is not really continuity. I guess it's just asset reuse, but at least it makes sense.
Yeah, that's true.
I like the part where Tails accidentally eats dirt.
Okay.
I don't know. Just there's something stupid about it that made it funny.
Okay, so this episode throws a slight wrench in my whole Scratch and Grounder betrayal observation because I'm confused why Scratch and Grounder would even try to get Robotnik out of this mess. It's pretty much the only example I can think of where they didn't betray him when they had a chance. The only thing I can think about is that Scratch is like, oh, you don't have to worry about his wrath, at least for a few years. So I'm wondering if they're just afraid of him and what he'll do when he gets his own way out of this, even.
Yeah, maybe it's that we have to get him back, because they can't kill a baby. They wouldn't do that on this show. And since they can't do that, that means that if they don't take care of Robotnik, that he's going to grow up and remember that they didn't do that.
Yeah, that's all I can think of.
No, that's what you said, I know.
It's a bit of a breath of fresh air, although at the same time, it isn't Sonic doing it. So when Scratch and Grounder disguised themselves as policemen, I was pretty happy to see the daycare lady, Miss Saccharine, ask for ID, because I'm like, if only anyone else in this show did that!
Yeah. I'll say with a baby Sonic, that would have been Jaleel White's chance to go like full Urkel, but he didn't. And I'm not sure if I've been spared for that or deprived of that. I don't really like Rugrats that much, but I'd rather watch Rugrats than this. Here's something. The one, it's not an upside, but it's like a thankfully they didn't do this, is that they made it the whole episode without any diaper shitting jokes. Which I know that there's another episode with babies in it down the line, and I don't remember. I think it does. But it's like, well, at least we got through this one without it.
I don't remember them doing that. I don't think they do.
Alright. The PSA of this episode is about not climbing in the dryer. which apparently is a real thing that happened and that got a bunch of kids killed, but this was one of the episodes that I saw before, and I was like, why would anybody have ever done that?
Yeah,
But,
well, there
that
you
was
go.
real.
The family sword. It's made out of babies.
Episode 29, Robotnik Jr. Robotnik constructs a robot son in order to help him with his conquest of Mobius. Robotnik Jr., however, is inspired by Sonic and helps him thwart his latest plan.
So is
Honestly-
Robotnik Jr. a replicant?
I don't know.
Mhm.
And that might just be the Blade Runner fan in me, but yeah, he's
Well, is he a robot or is he a guy? I guess that's the same question that we're asking about regular Botnik.
true.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid, aside from the fact that how could that have been hidden through the whole show, this episode implies that Robotnik Jr. is the first robot in the family, because when Robotnik is showing him the family pictures on the wall, he's like, you come from a long line of Robotniks, like, and he's like, something to the effect of, like, you're the first artificial one, though.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, but that could still mean that he's like an artificial life form like Shadow.
Or a replicant.
He is the Shadow the Hedgehog of the Adventures continuity.
Well,
Oh, boy.
spoilers, but he also falls apart later, so he's a robot.
That's
I
true,
know.
yeah. That's a good point, and I knew that, but it's still fun. It's still a fun, I guess, thing to bring up.
No,
I don't know if you
I
guys-
encourage overthinking things, so yes, I will not discourage.
I don't know if you guys, when Sonic Mania came out, I don't know if you guys ever saw the meme where someone kind of misinterpreted the sprite of the spider boss and thought it's like, oh, this is Robotnik's little niece, Eggette,
Yeah.
Omelets, they called her. I kind of wish that
remember.
they had done something like that, where it's just like an evil, like, little girl. I think
Yeah.
that would be, you know, I think it's all sort of a matter of presentation and character design, because it's not like it's demonstrably different, but if you make her cute, it would be fun.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Robotnik Jr. himself is kind of just like, well, he's literally shaped like an egg, actually.
Yeah, he's the eggest
Yeah.
Eggman of them all, actually.
Yeah, he is.
Because regular Eggman, he has a head on top of the egg body, but this guy is egg.
That
Yeah,
is true.
yeah. Huh. I didn't really think of that. Huh.
Yeah, I mean, the design isn't all that interesting, but I do like the dynamic between Robotnik and Robotnik Jr., how he's just the worst, and Robotnik is always pleased by that.
I kind of wish that that had been the entire episode, just a whole episode of Robotnik showing his son how to be horrible.
I mean, it was, but then at the end, Robotnik...
Yeah, I wish that Sonic was not
joined him.
involved, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that would be interesting.
Then
but,
you could just make the episode where they have to confront each other a later one, is all.
Yeah, but I don't think there's a single episode without Sonic, Tails, Robotnik, Scratch, and Grounder in it.
Probably not, no.
That would be interesting, but it's obvious that's not what they ever did.
Ooh, here's something. Sonic inhales a bubble in this episode, which is like, oh, that's actually a mechanic from the games, and I think they did it by accident.
I'd like to think that the people animating the show had at least played the games and were like, oh, Sonic does this in the game, we should have our Sonic do it.
Well,
I would be
somebody must have
shocked
cared
if it
enough.
wasn't intentional.
But, yeah, this show's treatment of the games is very inconsistent, so I don't know, it could be anything.
The fact that they obviously reference the games multiple times would make me think that this couldn't be an accidental reference.
It's
Right.
possible.
When Scratch is telling Robotnik that, like, the beam of death is, like, too powerful, more powerful than anticipated, and Robotnik's
Mhm.
response is, so we fry a few innocents. That's not a problem. That's a bonus.
Spicy.
It's wonderful. He's so much fun.
Delightfully evil. That is the word to describe him, I think.
Mm.
Alright, episode 30, Full Tilt Tails. Robotnik makes chewing gum that makes the consumer as fast as Sonic. He gives it to Grounder, but he loses it and Tails gets a hold of it.
Yes.
There is, a bit in a whole bunch of Sonic continuities where, somebody will get speed comparable to Sonic's. Now that I'm saying this is a superhero trope in general where, like, oh, X side character will get all the main powers of the hero, and then it never sticks.
Right. Well, it's Monster of the Week, or more largely, it's weird gimmick that shakes up the show in some regard of the week. But yeah, well, here's the thing, though, actually. If you look closely, and there's even a line in it at the beginning when Tails and Sonic are training, Sonic is like, oh, okay, try to run quickly, but don't use your tails. And so the show is aware that Tails can fly pretty much or just as fast as Sonic, so it makes no real difference.
Pretty well.
Yeah. So
it's not
I'm
even
not
that it
sure
makes no difference. It's that it's objectively, other than him being a little bit slower, probably it's almost objectively superior, since being fast in the air is even better than being fast on the ground.
No, it's true. I have to imagine it's just Tails being, lacking in confidence, as they do in a lot of canon.
Yeah, that is at least in character.
Or like that Coconut shows up in this episode just to get dropped in a pit, and that's their entire purpose.
I don't know if it was this episode or a different one. It must have been a different one since I had a note about it. But whatever the most recent before this episode with Coconuts was, I was like, wow, I feel like I haven't seen Coconuts in a really long time. He, disappears for large swaths of this show.
Yeah, I was surprised by that, but it's true. With the Speedament gum, we have another instance of Robotnik talking about something they worked on for years in order to form, similar to the Mobium Mega Crystal, which makes me think that, okay, so this is me getting into theorizing a little bit. Maybe the fact that Robotnik doesn't have a big old empire across Mobius in this one, and more seems to just have a concentration, is the fact that he's always working on these side projects that require lots of resources to make.
Oh, he's got a an ADHD problem where he can't finish anything because he's working on 19 different things at once.
That's my theory, anyway.
It's possible. Sonic calls Tails orange in this episode at one point, and it makes me really wonder if there was a huge miscommunication somewhere, because Tails is orange in the games, but he's been brown for this whole show.
That's funny. I didn't notice that, but you're right.
Well, it's was this written before they had the designs finalized? Why couldn't you make him orange? I honestly do get a little upset that Tails is brown and not orange for so much of the early series material, because why? He is always orange in the games, he's always orange in all the artwork, and, an actual red fox is orange.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to get annoyed about how they did it sort of wrong to the true canon in this show, and that's just, you're just adding one thing to the pile.
It's not like the Sonic with the mohawk quills, because that's just a misunderstanding of what his design is supposed to be in the Japanese art. Sorry, I get irate about this for no reason.
No. If I can dig into it, you can get angry at little insignificant things. I mean, very significant. No, I support you.
Yeah.
You even bring up a lot of Sonic Says segments. I actually have a note on this one, though, because seeing Grounders smoke a cigarette is just hilarious.
Oh, yeah, this is the Smoking Tails episode. So I've seen that shot of Tails with, the mid-blink shot where he's got the cigarette. Mm-hmm. That's another, popular meme image from this show.
Yep.
Episode 31, MacHopper. Robotnik attempts to brainwash MacHopper, a friend of Sonic's, into doing his dirty deeds, but an explosion causes his memory to become unstable. He's an Australian stereotype. That's his character.
Yeah, that bit is whatever. I can't say what logic there is. It's not logical. What I find funny, what I find don't. I kind of actually found it amusing whenever he kept flipping, constantly back and forth between on Robotnik's side and on Sonic and Tails' side. And at first I was like, okay, they'll do it a few times and they'll cure him, but they just did it the whole episode, and I found it funny for some reason. There's
a point where lightning strikes in this episode and Tails isn't afraid of it, so that's another tick on the failed continuity box.
Okay, I am surprised how many times your notes are exactly my notes. We're often on the same wavelength. Yes, I noticed that too. Speaking of lightning, I like the ominous storm and lightning that opens up this episode, and then it's just Robotnik's fortress. You're like, okay, it's not really anything that ominous, but it's funny.
I feel like I've heard you talk about ominous openings to things that aren't that ominous being fun to you in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I just like it. It's sort of
bait and switch.
The
one that I remember was the very first Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie, and you saying that you like the opening on the scary cheese and that.
Oh my gosh. I've not thought of that movie or even that series in forever.
They still write them. They are still making the books.
Wow.
That kid has been in middle school for 20 years.
Wow. Okay. The more you know.
Anyway,
back to the episode. This is when I started taking screenshots of funny moments, like when MacHopper steals a coin from Tails and gives him a glare that could kill. I love it. A lot of these looks are actually of Tails. Best character, as we said. But so that really got me. Oh, and then also another funny bit is when Robotnik is like really surprised that MacHopper actually captured Sonic. Like, I mean, he's done it a few times before, but it's funny when he like realizes that he's so bad at actually defeating Sonic.
Perhaps this would be a moment for self-reflection, Ivo.
Yes, that's all I got for this episode.
I don't have anything too much myself. I have, why would chili work as fuel?
It's chili. It's such a powerful substance. I mean, it has power over Sonic, and Sonic is the most overpowered character in this show.
It's a little weird. It's a little weird that, because, you know, I understand that the Sonic likes chili dogs thing that's meant to be, you know, like, oh, the Ninja Turtles like pizza. But there's a weird moment in this show where it starts to feel like chili dogs are the only food that exists on the planet.
Oh yeah, it's because Sonic is a celebrity, and they've made such waves on society that now everyone just loves chili dogs.
I'm just trying to have my peanut butter jelly and lettuce sandwich. I don't know.
Yes.
Episode 32, Mama Robotnik returns. Mama Robotnik visits her son, and after he fails once again, she disowns him and decides to adopt Sonic as her own son in order to capture him.
I love Mama Robotnik. They are hysterical.
She's real weird, but, like, the fact that she's basically just another Robotnik, but that makes regular Robotnik cower before her is fun. I think it's weird that, starting in this episode, her mustache is gone.
Yeah, I think she might get it back in one episode randomly.
She does. Yeah, she does.
Yeah, but now she has it like off and on. It's weird, and it kind of bothers me because a mustache looks hilarious.
Maybe it's just like a fake mustache that she wears to intimidate people.
Okay, yeah, I could see that, I guess. This episode starts out with microwave towers, which Robotnik talks about, and Tails just casually leans against with a weird look on his face. But the microwave towers are like, wait a minute, you're talking about those as if they're just a thing. Were they like built by some sort of ancient civilization? But unfortunately, those ponderings never went any farther.
Yeah.
Kind of just weird, though.
The ancient microwave civilizations were just underdeveloped in this show.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining, like, microwaves with, like, wooden shields and spears.
Yes. Once again, Scratch and Grounder are completely treacherous, betraying Robotnik on a dime for Mama Robotnik. So, consistency. Yes, it makes me happy. Oh, okay. So this is the episode that introduces Sonic's character trait in this show where he follows the law above all else.
It's super, super weird after everything that I know about Sonic to be like, watching him say, the law is what's most important. It's like, excuse me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Sonic. There's too many police around when you don't need them, hedgehog.
Yes.
You know, this is just a case of different people working on the series at different times and not really thinking too hard about it, I think.
Definitely.
But it is funny.
But it's weird. Even when there's an obvious case of injustice, and he's like, no, you must follow the law. And
I have to stand trial.
It's weird because they did it for the Sonic Says segment where they're like, oh, you got to teach kids.
Even though it caused him problems in the episode.
Yeah, so it's like, you're sending kids mixed messages here, man.
Yeah.
This is not the episode to feature that lesson.
Which, you know, maybe this is an incredibly astute political commentary. I don't think so. No.
No.
Oh, I'm looking at my notes and I'm seeing Sonic tears off Robotnik's mustache and puts it on Mama Robotnik. So what does that imply about her previous mustache?
I have to imagine that the writer wanted them to do that, and they're like, oh wait, but Mama Robotnik already had a mustache. And they're like, no, they didn't.
But here's what it implies. It implies that every time we see Mama Robotnik with a mustache, it's actually her son's mustache that has been torn off and put on her. So maybe in the first episode we see her, she tore his mustache off and stole it as like her trophy when he was trying to put her in a home.
Yeah, that's what I was about to suggest as you were saying that, and that makes sense to me. Because she's great. She treats Robotnik like Robotnik treats Scratch and Grounder. Ironically, she actually treats Scratch and Grounder really well for some reason. But it's great.
It's like her grandkids.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! That might actually be what they're going for, you know? I could see that the show doing that. That's true. I had never thought of it that way. But Mama Robotnik is great because she's like Robotnik, but Robotnik is still susceptible to all of like Sonic's tricks, but Mama Robotnik seems completely immune to that. She actually, I mean, she declares it herself. She almost defeats him. She gets very close, but because she like manipulates the law, which wasn't a weakness I realized he had, but she knew it somehow. So it's pretty entertaining to watch because, well, the way it's solved is that she was actually breaking the law while following the law, which makes more sense than I'll just pull something random out of a hat.
Yeah.
There's also a really like lengthy and flashy explosion sequence at the end of the episode that caught my attention.
Yeah.
But, yeah, pretty neat episode. I like it.
Episode 33, Spaceman Sonic. Robotnik sends Scratch and Grounder into space to pillage the asteroid belt with Sonic and Tails in pursuit. When the spaceship runs out of power, they're stranded at an abandoned space station pursued by a residing alien. And it's not the space colony Ark, but there are skeletons there, and a sentient liquid alien, so maybe it is the Ark. I don't know.
Well, this is before then, which means that this was the inspiration.
Yes, because we've got the Ark, we've got the dead researchers, and we've got Chaos.
Oh, gosh. That's not true, but what if it was? No, the actual bit of overlapping canon in this one is when they declare a section of space to be the Starlight Zone, which is kind of just, you're just using names at this point.
It pisses me off! Starlight Zone is a city!
Yeah. Once again, I'm happy with consistency. Scratch and Grounder quickly betray Robotnik when he's, distant from them and can't stop them. They're in space, and they're like, okay, well, cool. I guess we are in space now.
Do they wear spacesuits?
They do wear spacesuits.
Why do they wear spacesuits?
Somewhat makes... Let me think about this. I'm trying to think. Would there be a reason...
I mean, not all technology is space-proof. I know that there's some stuff that will go wrong if it doesn't have oxygen or gravity, that are just devices we use nowadays, but...
Yeah, I'm not smart enough to think of concrete examples, but I can think of... There's probably reasons why certain devices wouldn't operate well in a vacuum.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm used to that at this point. Oh, yeah, okay, so Scratch and Grounder betray Robotnik, but he won't have it. There's this really, actually, almost seriously evil and dark moment when Robotnik is like, so Sonic is up there with you, and the only way back is that escape pod right there. Oh, okay, well then I'll use this remote control that I had the foresight to install in you to operate your weapons remotely, blow it up, and then turn it on you and blow up each of you with your own weapons. And like
Stone Cold.
Grounder seems legitimately terrified when he gets blown up because Grounder of the two is the much more tender soul. But
yeah, he's more trusting.
Yeah, but it kind of caught me off guard. Pretty brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's on it really.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot else to say about it because it's the space episode. Every kids show has. They have the baby episode, they have the shrink or get big episode, they have the space episode, etc.
Yep, just one of those tropes.
And that's the end of part 3, everybody. Feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed. And if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can always reach us at deepdivezonepod@gmail.com or at deepdivezone on Twitter. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.